Today I'm going to be doing a book review on this book right here, which is called The Coldest, not the coldest once ever, y'all. Midnight by Sister Souljah. Now I know that I'm like super duper years late, like I'm late with this review, but I've just gotten a chance to actually read this book. I read The Coldest Once Ever when I was about 11, probably 10 or 11 years old, and I loved it. Now, as you guys know, if you've been following me, like I'm always doing something to better myself or enhance myself. So most of the things that I read are like informational books or guides or something of that nature. And lately I've been able to read for enjoyment. So yes. When I went to the bookstore, I asked the lady who owned it, I said, which book comes after The Coldest Once Ever? Because I remember reading it and I loved it. And she said Midnight. Now, I'm not sure if Midnight was supposed to be like a sequel, but to me, it was more like a prequel to The Coldest Once Ever. This is basically discussing the life of a character called Midnight. And it basically starts when he's 7 years old and it just fast forwards to when he is 14. Now, I was like a little bit disappointed with the book. Like, it was well written, and I feel like Sister Souljah writes to educate, and with that being said, it wasn't too much you know, drama, all that salaciousness and all that good stuff we like to read. It was just a big you know, at times it was a snooze fest. It was like boring. But let's get into the book nonetheless. I still love me some Sister Souljah. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go grab the rest of the books. Thinking about getting No Disrespect, the very first one that she wrote, because I heard that was a good read, but whatever. So in the book there was like some themes that stood out to me. Now this character Midnight, he is born in Sudan and came to America. So one of the themes was basically the life of an immigrant arriving from their homeland to America. That's the first thing that I noticed, like how difficult it is to get around, and how children are basically used as a parent's guide most of the time. So his mother came here from Sudan pregnant and with a 7-year-old son, and the father didn't come. When they got here, they were supposed to meet up with the father's friend. The father's friend stood them up. Then, you know, they didn't have that much money because in the Sudan their father was wealthy and he was rich, but that money isn't, you know, it doesn't, you know, compared to the money in the US, like it didn't go too far once they got here. So they needed a place to stay, and it was up to the 7-year-old. I don't understand how the 7-year-old was handling so much business while he knew English but the mama didn't. Like, I don't know. So they got it with a realtor who basically found them an apartment in the projects. And I am a realtor, so I know like, like when realtors start finding people apartments in the projects, because last time I checked there was like a long waiting list to get in any type of housing projects, and you just can't go up to a housing project and be like, yo, I need a place to stay, and they'd be like, all right, we have apartment 1, 2B open, like, or you know, 2A open. It doesn't work that way. So that was interesting, but it's a story nonetheless, so we just gonna roll with it. So the struggles of the mom trying to find work, and the son found her a job at the factory, like where it was a bunch of immigrants, and back at home she did like a lot of sewing on the father's compounds or whatever. So she was good at sewing and factory work. She basically worked at a sweatshop basically. So he got the mom a job there. He was just so overprotective of his mother because they're in a foreign country and the mom doesn't speak any English, and of course she's pregnant, but eventually she has this child. So we're going to fast forward to the age of 14. So Midnight is 14 at this time, and I'm going to focus on some other themes that really stood out for me in this book. So yeah, but anyway, let's get back into the book. So he's 14 years old, and it seemed like as soon as he turned 14 he became this sex-crazed, horny teenager. And it seems like he's always talking about he met this Japanese chick named Akemi. He was working at a fish market 2 days a week in Chinatown, and he met this Chinese chick who didn't speak English. Now I don't understand how you carry on a relationship with somebody who does not speak your same language. I don't understand how you carry on a relationship with someone who does not speak your same language, but to each his own, and I'm sure people do it all the time. But he sees this girl and he's just admiring her style. She's well dressed, and he's like having all these lusty feelings. And then the mom is like, well, you know, Muslim men, you can't go into women unless you're married. And then he meets another girl that he calls Bangs, who has a child, and he likes her, but he knows he can't bring her home because of his culture. And I just felt like Sister Souljah basically, you know, introduced to Kemi, and then she introduced Bangs, like, and they were like complete opposites. Kemi is, you know, a foreigner like he is. She's pure, she's never had sex, and her family is really strict. On the other hand, Bangs, the other girl that he likes, has this child out of wedlock, lives with her grandmother. Her mother or father are not in the household, and later he finds out that the uncle has been molesting her, and that's actually the uncle's baby. And in the story he makes a comment, well, you know, Kemi, she's so pure, she's so clean, and Bangs, like, ugh, like, she's like her, you know, she's like public, like, I can't do the things I want to do with her because her body is like for the public. So because she has this child out of wedlock and she's already been touched, she's like, ugh, you know. And I felt like I don't know what Sister Souljah was trying to do with that, but it just seemed like she was making a comparison, well, making it known that, you know, Black American women are just, they're damaged, they're tarnished, they're public, you know, they do whatever. And oh, she made Sister Souljah also, one of the themes I noticed was fatherless households. Now, Chris, he had two friends in the book, Amir and Chris. And I believe that Chris, his father was like a pastor or something like that, and the father was basically, you know, Chris got into some trouble where he got arrested, and Midnight and Amir ended up going to church to see if he was okay, because he knew he would be on church on Sunday. And the father basically sat them down and was basically dropping jewels and gems, telling them like, yo, y'all, you know, are basically a corporation, like, you gotta pay taxes, like, just dropping, you know, little gems, you know, and telling them about life, things that they're not gonna know, because, you know, things that they're not gonna hear, because obviously Midnight's father's in Sudan, and Amir, they never really make mention of the father. So Sister Souljah, she basically makes mention of like fatherless homes. Midnight had two friends, Amir and Chris, and they met these chicks at a basketball game, after a basketball game, and they were going back to one of the girls' houses, and Midnight says, isn't your father home? Like, what are we doing? Because he's basically taught not to go into any man's house if they're not home. And they sort of giggle like, but basically, I feel like Sister Souljah was trying to bring attention to the fact that a lot of households are fatherless, like, and that's why the kids giggled. And it was ironic that she chose Midnight out of both of the characters to speak on the situation of is your father home, when the father is back in Sudan, and he basically, they never make mention of the father coming out to visit or any contact with the father. And in the beginning of the book, when her mom was out of money, she basically had to get a job. She tried to reach the father in Sudan, but he never contacted her back. So like, Midnight did not realize that he too was fatherless. He didn't have a father, so he's looking down on all these other, like, you know, Black Americans because they don't have fathers, but he is fatherless. Like, I just didn't understand like what the angle was. And when I read books, I basically try to read them closely, because I know that there's a deeper meaning than what the author, you know, puts on the surface. So I'm just like, but Midnight is fatherless too. Like, how is he judging people? Like, he's fatherless too, and he lives in the projects. Like, he don't have no glamorous life. So also I felt like priorities, having priorities, that was like another theme that she put in the book. Like, as Black Americans, like, we don't place value on owning our own homes, being out of the hood. Like, as long as, you know, we look fly, and we dress, you know, good, and our kids are dressed, you know, nice, and they appear nice looking, that is really, we just care, well, I'm not gonna say we, Black Americans just care about the superficial things. And I feel like basically in this book, he realized that his neighborhood was not the ideal neighborhood that he wanted his mom and his sister to live in. So they were saving, you know, money. Like, they had a little side business, a little side hustle with his mother. Uma was making clothes, and they were stacking their money so they could buy a house straight out in cash and move. And I thought that was pretty brilliant, that, you know, if you think about it, all the stuff that we spend our money on, like, is a lot of the times it's superficial. It's not gonna matter in like 5 years. But if you sat there and you put money to the side little by little, you would be able to have enough money to buy a house. And the mentality of most Black Americans, they just don't see this vision, but Midnight did. So I thought that was an important theme of having priorities, you know, having your priorities straight. Like, there was just a lot of different things in this book. Like I said, I feel like Sister Souljah is an educator. So when she wrote this book, her intentions were to educate you on not just the Sudanese culture, but to bring to the surface problems in the Black American communities, and things that we go through. And you know, those are just like the main things that I thought about, you know, that I caught. There's lots of little other things in the book that she touched on. Let's see. Oh yeah, and another thing about, you know, Black Americans. I don't really like to use the term African American for some reason. I feel like my ancestors have been here for 5 centuries. I am 5 centuries removed from Africa, even though I am of African descent, obviously, you know, with all this melanin or whatever. I just consider myself a Black American because I was born here. And most Africans, not most, let me not say most, but I find that some Africans that I've run across look at me like I'm not African, like as African as they are. So you know what, I'm gonna just accept my home in America and I'm gonna be a Black American. But I feel like she was trying to say that Black Americans lack respect or whatever, because there was a scene, well, a part in her book where she Midnight interacts with Bangs' grandmother, and Bangs' grandmother has made, you know, twice I can remember in the book she mentioned, oh, I like when you come around Midnight, you speak with some manners, you ain't like these boys around here, you got manners. Like, she's basically saying like, oh my gosh, like, you can come by anytime, see Bangs, you got manners, as if she hasn't experienced other teenagers having manners. So Sister Souljah made it a point to say that Black Americans lack manners. And also yeah, that's that. But I just found it ironic how Midnight was 14 and he was handling all this business. He was pretty mature for a 14-year-old. He was being homeschooled, which I don't understand how, going to karate, looking for his mom a house, picking her up from work, taking her to work, caring after his sister, chasing a chick named Akemi, got married, was able to close a deal on a house. He's 14. I'm just like, I understand it's the story, but could we have made him at least 17 or 18 if he's handling all of these responsibilities? Oh, excuse the noise, the landscapers are outside cutting the grass, I guess, making it all pretty for spring. Yeah, so I think that's all I have to say about this book. I'm gonna try to cut this video down and make it, you know, a smooth sail for you guys to listen to and to watch. And if you have any comments, if you read the book and you want to, you know, put your 2 cents in and tell me what you thought about it, put it in the comment section. You can have a little book discussion going on in the comment section or whatever. And if you're an independent writer and you want me to read your book and review it on my channel, I'll do that too. No problem with that. Just email me. My email address will be in the description box. I have another book that I'm in the process of reading right here. It's called Brooklyn We Go Hard, and it is by Tatiana Villalobos Etienne, and she's actually a friend of mine. So I know she's been working really hard on this book, and I can't wait to read it. And I'm definitely going to review it on my channel. So subscribe to my channel if you have not. If you actually like book reviews or whatever, subscribe to my channel. Share it if you think this video is helpful, and connect with me on all my social media links, and it will be in this. All my social media links will be in the description box. I'm just really distracted by this land, just moving all nowhere. And catch me in my next video. Bye.